dear.
Gentlemen,
What about breakfast?
you've already had it.
Aragorn the Dark and Brooding. That's what we're naming this here because there's a change to Aragorn that's just cosmetic, really. And we're going to talk about this. And there are more cosmetic changes in The Lord of the Rings that Peter Jackson makes. But it's not worth our time or your time to go over every little nitpicky thing about, the collar on Legolas's shirt or the boots that he wears.
No,
which maybe we'll do. It's enough.
That's totally worth
We have to do.
mentioning.
So in lieu of doing all the costume changes that are made based on how Tolkien wrote about characters, we'll still go over weaponry changes. I think that's something that we can look at. But we're going to take a look at the changes that Peter Jackson made here. So I'm first going to read how, in two places in the Fellowship of the Ring, how Tolkien describes Strider, aka Aragorn. And so this is in Bree at the Prancing Pony. He writes, his legs were stretched out before him, showing high boots of supple leather that fitted him well, but had seen much wear and were now caked with mud. A travel-stained cloak of heavy dark green cloth was drawn close about him. So maybe that's, you can see, there is a travel-stained cloak of some sort, but as we see further down, right, it's all dark, it's all black, and even here, when you get into where it's clear against the snow in Caradhras, you can see, or the Misty Mountains, you can see that it's black. And then this is his description as they leave Rivendell, as the Fellowship leaves Rivendell. Aragorn had Anduril but no other weapon, and he went forth clad only in rusty green-brown as a ranger of the wilderness. So I thought it'd be important to say, okay, well, rusty green-brown, what does that look like? How do we see it? And so this example here by Ted Naismith kind of gives us a better look at what Aragorn would kind of look like with tight-fitting boots, which he says are boots that fitted him well. Obviously, they're a little bit more like light leather. But you can see, I don't know if it comes through on here, but the cloak, there is a little brown around under his elven cape here, elven cloak. That is the rusty brown and green, the green, right, that he's wearing as his primary tunic. So that fits a little bit closer to what Tolkien said.
Wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Does that tunic looks green to you? It looks lighter brown to me. Am I colorblind?
To me, there's a little bit of green in it.
Okay, all right.
It certainly looks worn. That's
but anyway, it definitely fits the color.
It's green, lighter,
green,
right?
Brown. Yep.
This is Aragorn, dark and brooding, and so Aragorn is indeed. They just made him all black, all dark, all very mysterious. And you were going to say,
yeah. So yeah, I just think that one of the things that's important to understand about why we're taking this change on is because the colors, the quote you read out was the best one, which is the colors that Aragorn wears fit his status as a ranger. He's wearing ranger clothing, okay? Mm-hmm. And the ranger clothing is greens and browns. And clearly, they don't do that in the movie. So
no, and I think if you look, it's because you look at the Hobbits and they're in greens and browns. And you can't have Aragorn in greens and browns, and you can't have the Hobbits in greens and browns, and Legolas is in greens. So it would make it very monotone for all the Fellowship to look exactly the same. I mean, it's like if they did all the all the dwarves wore exactly the same clothes, right? You wouldn't notice the difference between them. So I think that's where they start. All right, so let's then go through our changes here. So here we go. Aragorn, the dark and brooding, who's wearing dark clothes, and and so do a bunch of other people. They change their clothes too. So is it lore friendly to change Aragorn's clothes or to change anyone else's clothes to make them completely different or somewhat different than what Tolkien writes in The Lord of the Rings? Lore friendly, I'm going to say yes. It's unless it's like they're wearing something completely different, like it's a future. They changed the time zone, the time frame, and all of a sudden they're wearing mood rings and things like that, and sneakers, right? That's different. But in the change they made here, I think it's completely lore friendly. I don't have a problem with it at all, honestly.
Yeah, and I don't even think I'm going to go on a limb here, and Christopher Tolkien's going to turn over in his grave, but I don't even think Tolkien would care that much. Like the when you're showing a character from a book, even if the technical colors are somewhat off, it isn't like he's wearing pink or anything like that.
Right,
It's not,
exactly. Yeah.
He's wearing dark. Even that cloak, the dark cloak, which we use, as you said, does look like it's black. It might even have a tinge of dark green in it. It might be it's definitely, it's not outside the color palette. I don't think it's lore unfriendly. So I'm going to say yes.
Agreed. All right, let's go to the next one. Does the change make for better cinema? Does the change make for better cinema? Your turn, Michael. You go first.
Does it make for better cinema? I guess a mild yes, because of the color pattern that you said. Here's the important part. Butterbird doesn't like rangers. He considers rangers to be these scruffy ne'er-do-wells, and Aragorn definitely looks like a scruffy ne'er-do-well. Like the question for me is more of what effect does the color change have on the character? Aragorn looks the part of a guy that's been sleeping out in the wilds for months, weeks on end at least, and his clothing reflects that. It's dirty, it's dark colored,
right.
It's good color. I think with the contrast issue that you mentioned, where the hobbits are in slightly lighter colors, Legolas is in green, in green. It is probably better from a contrast perspective. Mild, yes.
Yeah, I think it makes better visually on screen to have something completely different for him than the hobbits. If you met him at the same time, and I don't have a clip here, but if you had Frodo in Bree, right, he comes in with brown and green, essentially, or maybe a dark red, you could almost say. But that's how Tolkien describes Aragorn, and so you've got to make him different. There's no way to to make it all bland and boring on screen, and give them something different to hang their hat on. And if it's a visual effect, like that's minor, like just changing the color of his cloak, of his shirt, of his pants, 100%, I'm totally fine with that. I think it made it actually better.
Yep. All right.
How much do you like the change? How much do you like the change? All right, I'll go first. I mean, it's not like a change I would go like, you know what, that was a really good decision. It's not a 4 or a 5, so I'm probably gonna land somewhere around it's the right decision for cinema. So I like it. I think I'm good with it. It makes me perfectly fine that that's who Aragorn was in the beginning, and they kind of gave him that more brooding. I mean, he comes across as brooding in the books as well, right in the beginning. So I think that lends to his character a little bit more, because it's a visual representation of who we need the character to be.
That makes sense. I'm going to go with for the exact same reasons. I think I like it. I didn't even really notice it when I was watching it. I wasn't like, oh, the colors are changed. I admit that they're a slight change afterwards, but it didn't break my immersion. In retrospect, I like it. So the 3.8.
3.8. Yeah, still higher. I'm trying to reach your level, Michael. Just can't do it, man. Just can't get to that.
That's right. I am just an inveterate optimist. That's what I am.
You're just a super fan of Peter Jackson.
That's right. I should have been on the super fans of the Rings of Power. I would have had a thing to say.
3.8. 3.8. Yeah. You love the Rings of Power. You love that Gollum game, I hear, too. That was pretty awesome.
The best game I've ever played.
All right, guys. That's number 8, Aragorn the Dark and Brooding. Does his change matter? Do any of those really minor costume changes matter? Not really, guys. I mean, not really. Not like, Faramir matters.
We're just there's a few changes that I'm just waiting. It's going to turn into coming. Because they're going to be months down the line, because there are hundreds of changes. And when I finally get there to Faramir, I'm going to explode. I'm going to rant. It's going to be like a 10-minute rant for me.